Hi, I'm Olivia Dean and welcome to another morning with Learning at Home TV. We're all about making lessons at home stress-free for primary school students. And my job is to accompany kids in the early years through their lessons. Coming up, we have fitness tips. In English, we'll be hearing a folk tale about a magical fish. Maths focuses on showing how an efficient strategy is a way to work through a problem and make it easier to solve. And in science, we take a closer look at which materials are best for the things that we make. I hope you have your thinking caps somewhere handy because I think that you're going to need them today. Let's get ready to learn. Before we start our lessons, let's move our bodies. It's important because exercise makes bones nice and strong. It keeps you happy and it helps you sleep well at night.
How you going, guys? Touk Miller here from the Gold Coast Suns. Keeping active is really important for me for my health and well-being, and today I'm going to show you a couple moves on how to do so, and they're going to be around surfing, as you can see. So I'll put my surfboard down to the side here, and I'll start off with some lunges. What you're going to do, both feet start together, step forward with your right foot, and squat to the ground. Try with both legs. You can go left foot, squat to the ground, back to the start. I'll do a couple for you. Just so you get it. All right, once you've done that, we're gonna go to our second move. So what we're gonna do, make sure you've got a bit of space around you, around 2 to 3 meters. I'm gonna lie down. We're gonna act like we're doing freestyle. So you're gonna keep your head up. Make sure you do nice long strokes as if you're out in the water. And then from here, we're gonna go into our third move, which is a plank. So I'm going to come up, both hands are going to be under my shoulders, and we're going to try to hold this as long as you can. My record's about 20 minutes, so good luck to you. All right, once you've done that, we're going to sign off. Hopefully you guys have a really good time being active.
Let's talk about reading. I enjoy reading folk tales. Now, a folk tale is a story that has been handed down from one person to another within a family or a community over many years. They include stories set in faraway lands and stories of make-believe creatures and characters. Let's hear about this one.
Hello everyone, my name's Amanda. Today we're going to listen to a folk tale. A folk tale is a story from long ago. This folk tale is from ancient China. Ancient's another word for very old. We're going to read the story, The Wishing Fish, a Chinese folk tale. Many hundreds of years ago, in ancient China, there lived a cave chief called Wu. He had 2 wives. Unfortunately, his first wife died soon after her baby girl was born. Chief Wu called his young daughter Ye Xian, and he loved her. She was very beautiful, with shining dark eyes, silken hair, and small feet. In ancient China, small feet were a sign of beauty. Before Ye Xian grew to be married, Chief Wu died, leaving Ye Xian to be reared by her stepmother. Her stepmother was an ugly woman with dark hair and expensive clothes. She was also a mean woman, and so was her daughter. Looking at the daughter was like looking at a younger version of the stepmother, but she was lazier and even more cruel. Neither one liked Ye Xian because they thought her more beautiful and more clever than themselves. The stepmother gave Ye Xian the worst jobs, like washing clothes, carrying water, and stoking the fire under the kang, which was the sleeping platform where only she and the stepsister slept, cosy and warm. Ye Xian obeyed her stepmother. She was a hard worker and never complained. One day, while scrubbing clothes on the rocky edge of a stream, Ye Xian spied a lovely little fish with big golden eyes and shimmering red fins. She loved it so much, she carefully carried it home and put it into a big bowl. Although Ye Xian was given little food from her nasty stepmother, she shared a few grains of rice with the fish. As the fish grew, the bowl became too small, so Ye Xian carried it back and released it into the stream. Each time she brought the washing to the stream, or came to collect water, the red fish with the big golden eyes and shimmering red fins would leap out of the stream onto the bank to greet her. This beautiful fish became Ye Xian's only friend. Ye Xian's stepmother knew about the fish. Angry that Ye Xian had found happiness, she planned to kill the fish. But whenever she went to the stream, the fish would hide in the deepest water. So the cruel stepmother thought of a cunning plan. One evening while Ye Xian was bathing in the large tub outside the cave, she put on her stepdaughter's shabby, worn-out coat and crept to the stream. Unaware of the danger, the little fish floated up to the bank to greet the cunning old lady, disguised as Ye Xian. Swiftly the stepmother grabbed the fish. The stepmother carried it back to the cave and cooked it for supper. Then she threw the bones onto the scrap heap. When the fish did not appear the next day, Ye Xian was anxious. When she learned of the fish's death, she could do nothing but weep, alone on the rocky bank of the stream. As she sat weeping for her only friend, a gentle old man wearing a rumpled, rough coat with silvery, messy hair tied in a tight bun flew from the sky and sat by her side. "Do not be sad, child," he said. "I'm here to help you. I know where the fish bones are. Go and find them and keep them safe. Your fish friend was magic, and when you're in need, that which you need will be given. But remember, don't be greedy. You will only be given that which you need." Ye Xian recovered the fish bones and hid them in a large pot near the fire that kept the Kang warm. She seldom used the magic bones unless she was hungry or cold. Ye Xian would wait until the snores of her stepmother and her sister filled the cave, and then make a wish for food and a warm blanket. While they slept, she would hide her small wishing gifts and the magic fish bones back in the safety of the old pot. In summer, a cave festival was celebrated, and before long the evening of the cave festival arrived. People from all around gathered to dance and eat special food in celebration of the harvest. But Ye Xian was ordered to watch the fire while her stepmother and stepsister took their carriage to the festival. Ye Xian longed to join the festival. She wished upon the bones for the clothes to wear to the festival, and immediately a splendid robe of shimmering red silk, embroidered with goldfish, appeared beside the fire. For her feet, a pair of golden satin slippers with fish made of rubies appeared, as well as a hair comb of carved jade set with precious pearls. Her father's faithful old horse, Li Na, would carry her safely to the festival. How dazzled Ye Xian was by the festival. She saw the tiny swinging coloured lanterns. She tasted the delicious sweet bean cakes. She heard the fast, exciting music. She stood wide-eyed, staring at the villagers around her, until she found, to her horror, that she was staring straight into the eyes of her stepsister. Truly scared she would be recognised, she fled the festival in such haste that a golden satin slipper fell from her foot. Ye Xian raced home and took her place beside the Kang and slept. When her stepmother and stepsister came home, they found nothing unusual. Ye Xian's golden slipper was discovered by a travelling silk merchant who, a short time later, showed it to the king of Tuahuang, whose kingdom of many lands was one of the richest kingdoms in all of ancient China. Captivated by the dainty slipper, the young king inquired of its owner. He commanded his soldiers to search the kingdom and find the young woman with such a dainty foot. But she was nowhere to be found, because the slipper magically would change size to fit no one but Ye Xian. The eager king called the merchant to inquire of where the slipper was found, only to discover it was somewhere near a cave village in the mountains. King Tuahuang himself journeyed to the mountains, but could not believe the owner of the golden slipper could live in such poor circumstances. Still, he had his soldiers search every cave for the other slipper. In Ye Xian's cave, they found it, along with the gown that Ye Xian had worn to the festival in the large pot beside the Kang. Firstly, Ye Xian's stepmother tried on the slipper, but it was far too small. Then her stepsister tried, but the slipper simply squeezed her foot until she squealed. Ye Xian was finally taken before the king. Beautiful as she was, the king questioned whether a village girl in a worn-out coat would have a foot dainty enough to fit the golden slipper. His soldiers produced the gown and the other slipper, and the king demanded Ye Xian try on the clothes. Before long, from inside Chief Wu's cave, a shy young girl appeared, looking very beautiful in her splendid red and gold robe and jade hair comb. On her feet, the golden slippers were a very perfect fit. And at that very moment, the king realised he would make Yexian his wife and love her forever. The stepmother and stepsister begged for forgiveness, and Yexian forgave them for their cruelties. The king took Yexian back to his kingdom. With her, Yexian took nothing but the magic fish bones, which the king used until he had enough gold, jade, and jewellery for his needs. Then he buried the fish bones near the shore, where they were washed away by the tide. They have never been found to this day. Yexian became queen, and with her king lived happily ever after. What did you think about that story? Were there events and characters that reminded you of another story that you've read? Many of the events and characters in The Wishing Fish were similar or the same as events and characters in the fairy tale of Cinderella. Often there are similarities between some of these old stories. Today we read a folktale from ancient China. We learnt that folktales are stories from long ago. We also learnt that some of these old stories, like folktales and fairy tales, have events and characters that are very similar or the same. Think about fairy tales or folktales you've read. How are the events and the characters the same? Have fun. Bye for now.
In mathematics today, we will be looking at efficient strategies for adding numbers. We know that when we join quantities together to find the total, that's adding. Monique is going to show you some efficient strategies that you can use to add numbers. Have fun.
Hi everyone, my name is Monique. Today we are learning about adding numbers using efficient strategies. An efficient strategy is a way to work through a problem that makes it easier to solve. Let's have a look at our first efficient strategy to help us add numbers. This strategy is called using doubles. Using doubles is a very efficient strategy that we use when we are adding two numbers that are the same together. Let's see. This hand has 5 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this hand has 5 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My hands are showing a double. Remember that we use the double strategy when we are adding the same number together. 5 and 5 are the same number. When I join these numbers together, they make 10. Double 5 is 10. So that is one example of using doubles. Another efficient strategy that helps us add numbers is making combinations to 10. Look at the image of the rainbow. Each coloured part of the rainbow show us the combinations of two numbers that make 10. Look closely and look at each coloured part of the rainbow. 0 and 10, that makes 10. 1 and 9, that makes 10. 2 and 8, that makes 10. 3 and 7, that makes 10. 4 and 6, that makes 10. And 5 and 5, that makes 10. Each part of the rainbow made combinations to 10. Finding any combinations to 10 when we are adding numbers is a very efficient strategy. Another efficient strategy that helps us add numbers is counting on. When I use this strategy, I count on from a given number without having to recount all of the numbers again. So if I want to add 10 and 3, I would start at 10 and count on 3. 10, 11, 12, 13. 10 add 3 is 13. I counted on 3 from 10 to find the answer 13. It is important to remember that when you count on, you need to start with the larger number and count on the smaller number to find the answer. I'm going to use a number line this time to help. My number line starts at 0 and ends at 20. It is counting in ones. So if I wanted to add 5 and 11, I would start with the larger number 11. Let's try now. Adding 5 and 11, I'm going to start at the larger number 11 and count on the smaller number 5. 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 16. 11 add 5 makes 16. Counting on and using the larger number first is a very efficient strategy. Another efficient strategy we can use when we are adding numbers is called skip counting. Skip counting is counting by a number that is not 1. I can skip count forwards and backwards. When I choose to skip count, I can count quickly as it is a much faster way of counting than counting in ones. Skip counting is useful when we need to add bigger collections. On the table, I have 6 groups of counters. This means I have 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 and 5, but I do not know how many altogether. I can use the strategy of skip counting to work out the total amount in an efficient way. You can join in if you like. Let's start. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We have 30 counters altogether. That was very fast. Skip counting is definitely an efficient strategy. We have talked about many efficient strategies we can use when we are adding numbers. Let's see if we can use them to add a string of numbers. When I say string, I mean a collection of numbers in a line. Let's have a go at using these supersize dominoes to add a string of numbers to find a total. Both parts of this domino have 6. So I will put the number 6 here and here. The numbers 5 and 1 belong underneath this domino, so I will put it here and here. And lastly, 2 and 0 under this domino. 0 means there are no objects to count. Now let's think about how I could count these numbers. I've got it. I see a double, so I will add those 2 numbers together. Double 6 makes 12. I can see 5 and 1 makes another 6. So if I skip count by 6s, 12 and 6 make 18. I can also see 2 and 0. I know 0 means no objects to count, so I'll only add 2. I can count on 18, 19, 20. When I add this string of numbers together, I get a total of 20. I used a double, skip counting, and the counting on strategy. I think it was a very efficient way to add the numbers because I was able to complete it quickly, and my answer is correct. You may have used a different way to get the answer. That's fine. Look here. I wonder what's in this box. Let's take a little look. Oh, there's some numbers in here. Oh, there's a 6 and a 4 and a 6 and a 2. I wonder what I could do to help to make it easier for me to add these numbers. I've got it. I could look for pairs of numbers that go together easily to make adding more efficient. Sometimes changing the order of numbers makes adding easier and quicker. Let's have a look at how I have paired the numbers. I have arranged my numbers into pairs that go easily together to make adding more efficient. The first pair of numbers is a double. I can see double 6, so I will add that part together. Double 6 makes 12. I can see 4 and 2 makes another 6. I have arranged my numbers into 6, 6 and 6. I can then use skip counting. 6, 12, 18. That gives me a total of 18. Remember, there are many efficient strategies you could use to add numbers. Wasn't that fun? Bye-bye.
Here's something that I know that you will enjoy. Let's see what some of our kids have been doing at home with their dance moves. Dancing is another way to stay fit and a great way to stay in shape because we're all in this together.
Together, 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 everyone. Together, together, come on, let's have some fun. Together, we're there for each other every time. Together, together, come on, let's do this right. Here and now, it's time for celebration. I finally figured out, yeah, yeah, that all our dreams have no limitations. That's what it's all about.
Come on now. Everyone is special in their own way. We make each other strong.
Each other strong.
We're not the same. We're different in a good way. Together's where we belong.
We're all in this together. Once we know that we are, we're all stars, and we see that we're all in this together. And it shows when we stand hand in hand, make our dreams come true.
Everybody now.
Together, 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 everyone. Together, together, come on, let's have some fun. Together, we're there for each other every time. Together, together, come on, let's do this right.
Welcome back to Learning at Home TV. Who is ready for science? Have you spent time making things recently? What materials did you use? I made an apron, and it's made of fabric and metal. I think it turned out all right. But did you know that designers have to decide which materials are best for the things that they make? And that's what we'll be investigating today.
Hi. Today we're taking a closer look at what materials things are made of. Have a look around your room. Can you see something made of wood? Can you see something made of plastic? Something made of glass? The person who designed each of those things had to decide which material was the best one to use. Let's have a closer look at some designed objects. First, we're just going to look at objects that are made of one material. So, this stirring spoon's made of wood. It's stiff and it's strong because we wouldn't want it to bend while we're stirring the pot. And it doesn't melt when it goes in a hot pot of soup. These blocks are completely made of plastic. Can you imagine trying to make these out of wood? I don't think they'd last very long. Plastic's quite strong. It can have bright colours and it can be moulded into all sorts of interesting shapes. This hat is made out of wool, sheep's fur. It's soft and flexible, so it's comfortable in my head. Wool keeps a sheep warm, so this keeps my head warm too. Can you imagine if it was made of plastic? This knife is made of metal. It's very hard and strong. It's very thin on the edge, but it's strong enough to stay sharp. It doesn't break. Could you make a knife out of wool? I don't think it would be strong enough. It'd be too bendy. What about wood? I think it'd break too soon. What's this glass made of? That's an easy question. So glass is transparent. We can see through it. So we can see what we're drinking, and it's easy to keep it clean. And it's also quite strong if we're careful with it. So these objects have all got something in common. They're made all of the same material. But sometimes designers need to use different materials for some parts of an object. So this little car is mostly made of plastic, same as the blocks. But if you look underneath, there's an axle. We talked about axles before. And it's made of metal. Because a piece of plastic that thin wouldn't be very strong. The wheels would break off. And metal's very smooth, so it lets the wheels spin easily. Have a look at this old telescope. It has glass lenses in each end, so I can see through it. The outside is made of metal, so that's quite strong. If the whole telescope was made of metal, you wouldn't be able to see through it. If the whole thing was made of glass, the light couldn't get in, or too much light would get in the sides. And it also wouldn't be very strong. One more object. This is my old guitar. It's an interesting one because it has some different materials. So most of it's made of wood because it's got a nice sound. And the wood's quite strong. But we couldn't make the strings out of wood because they have to be pulled really tight to make the sound. So the strings are made of metal. And these tuners on the end, they're made of metal too because that little mechanism has to be very strong. Wouldn't work to make that out of wood. These bars that the strings rest on, they're metal too, so that they don't wear out like wood. Right. This white part, it has to be very hard because the strings press down on it. It's made of animal's bone. It's hard and it's strong. And this fancy decoration around here that's got a nice shiny light pattern, that's made of pearl shell. Pieces cut in, just to make it look beautiful. So you can see one object can have a few different materials. Can you see some things in your room that are made of different materials? Now it's time to look back on what we've learnt today. Now we know that, first, designers choose different materials depending on what the thing is going to be used for, depending on the purpose. Second, sometimes designers make parts of an object out of different materials. What do you own that's made of different materials? You could practice designing and making something. Maybe you could make a scientific drawing that shows what it's made of. Here's one I did of the telescope. You can see I've labelled the glass parts and the metal part. I wonder what you'll make and draw. Have fun.
And we're back, and we're just in time for a brain break. Jump up on your feet and get ready to move. Have fun, and I'll see you next time. Middle primary kids, your lessons are coming up next.
G'day guys, I'm Joe Berry from the Brisbane Lions. I'm stuck at home just like you guys. So here are a few activities that I do to keep fit and healthy. First one, forward lunges. Pretty self-explanatory, just step forward and lunge down, alternating legs each time. See how many you can do of them. Second one, what we do is the push-ups. Obviously down on all fours and going and controlling our chest down to the ground. Once it touches the ground, back up. I reckon you guys can do 10, I can only do 5. Last one, the bear crawls. Pretty self-explanatory, just pretend you're a bear and go forwards and backwards, just like this. Awesome, hope you guys had some fun with that. I certainly did. Go get them.